Alright, welcome back everybody. Consensus is Raptor Liner on the inside, so let's get to it. Thursday, the 23rd of January. Putting the front balance on. I put several other pieces on that I painted, the little pieces, just so I don't lose them and keep track of the hardware and all the hinges. Got the rear license plate marker on, all that kind of stuff. Again, just so I don't lose hardware. But the front balance, same reason. I decided to cut and buff this on the carbites off. It's not a very structurally sound piece. It's very easy to twist and everything like that, and I'm afraid if I really go to town on it, cutting and buffing it, I may do more damage than good, and it's also very low in the car, so I'm not really all that concerned, frankly, about seeing it. But I got J nuts in here for attachment of these guys, and they go on the front. I'll show you how that all kind of lifts up here. Now you might be able to notice here that I've got the paint scratched all to hell, and because I didn't pay attention enough, and I thought the J nuts went on those, not on here, so that's an unfortunate lesson learned there. So go ahead. I also got these brackets, and they connect up. Whoops, they connect up something like that into that area, and they are a long side and a short side. So I just have to make sure of that. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this front balance on, see how it looks. Alright, so hopefully you could have seen that. So a large flat washer, top and bottom here, regular flat washers, lock washers here, just a general arrangement. I think I bought too many large flat washers and not enough lock washers, so I'll get some lock washers for those. But that's, that's kind of how it fits. It's obviously pretty well adjustable, and these gaps will all ride off of the front of the bonnet when I get to that point. But it is suspended a little bit. So I'm just going to go around and snug all this stuff up, and then move on with, let's see, I might put the bonnet brackets in. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. Just so I'm not losing stuff here. And then, I don't know, we'll see. Got the bonnet hinges in. That'll get adjusted, and paint will get all jacked up and everything with that. But everything else is good. So I'm going to move on. I got the bonnet back there. My goal tonight, I am going to go ahead with Raptor Liner. The several people that responded said yes, Raptor Liner. So obviously I've got this all in primer. It's been in primer for a long time. So I got to get this all scuffed up. I have new bonnet latches that are in better shape than the originals from Dorothy. New to me, they're still original, not reproduction. So I've got to go ahead and get this all sanded down, 220 grit, get it all ready for paint, get it all taped up, and then hopefully on Sunday what I'll do is I'll come in, I'll shoot it with a reduced coat of gray, because I can use the gray epoxy, and then 2 hours later I'll hit it with the Raptor Liner. Time to get sanding. I'm obviously not going to bore you with this. Got to get everything untaped and kind of swap the tape sides so that I can get, I'm going to get all the Raptor Liner on the inside here pretty much everywhere you can see. Now up in the corners and stuff like that, outside of being nearly impossible for me to do that, it's probably going to maybe go on with a paintbrush just to get coverage, but we'll see. And obviously inside the fender wells, I'm going to also scuff that up and get that done. So the trick here is going to be, as these tubes, the pivot tubes come through, taping this off good enough, because I'm going to get this in Raptor Liner also, just to kind of keep with the consistency of it, I think. And my line's going to be right even with the bottom here. I gotta see how I want to do that. Probably going to want to paint this red, which is going to be a little tricky because I'm going to do it with the bonnet, flipped on the other side. Anyway, again, we're going to get the sand in here. I'm not going to bore you with it. Went over everything with 220 grit sandpaper, all the spots that I could get. Now, obviously, up around in the grill area and all that kind of stuff, you can still see some sign of this. Some of that's actually bare metal, unfortunately. but a lot of it I got out. So now that I've gotten pretty much everything with sandpaper, now I'm going to go back over everything with the Scotch-Brite pad, the red pads, and get the spots that were especially too curvy or something like that to get the sandpaper on, and just generally hit everything with the Scotch-Brite pad, and then start taping stuff off in preparation for not allowing the Raptor Liner to obviously clean it all up first, and then start taping everything off. Bonnet is cleaned up, all taped off. I still have to do final cleaning, wax and grease remover. There's still some, there'll be some residual fallout and stuff like that, so it's not ready for paint. But it's scuffed with the 220. What I ended up doing up here is essentially taping off the whole front here, and going to try to go, like I said, go around these pivot tubes, and then some of the flat is going to get regular red paint, but the rest is going to get Raptor Liner, so that's going to be a transition that I'll make there. Everything obviously here that you don't see in paint was going to be in Raptor Liner, and then all the wheel wells and all that kind of stuff. So I'm worried obviously about the front there and reaching all that. So I don't know how easy that's going to be. That'll be fun to get up in there, but hopefully it'll work out for me. So this will be on Sunday that I'll be taking care of this. And again, like I said, it'll be fun. Getting ready to go here. I've got the epoxies all induced, reduced it by 25%, all that good stuff. I also break out the little touch-up gun because it's going to be hard to get in those spots and everything back up underneath. So again, the object here is just to get one reduced coat over everything. Including the Raptor Liner that's already kind of in there. Everything should be taped off well enough. So this is going to be tricky again to get into these tight spots and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I've got that little gun, so I'm going to probably be switching back and forth. It's going to be a little awkward, and I'm just going to try to make it work. Wanted to point out real quick, I should have showed you while I was pouring. If you can see I've got a little bit of gray epoxy primer in here along with the activator, and you see it's like a caramel color almost. And if you look here on the cap, you'll really be able to see it, how it's like a caramel color, and that's just dried up. That this stuff is usually just when I think it was brand new, it was more like a yellowish tint, and over time it really starts to take on a deep, again, caramel color. That's okay. So there's been several questions on the SPI forum, hey, my activator's getting all funky looking. And it doesn't matter. That discoloration doesn't have anything to do with the strength or the ability of this stuff to work. However, conversely, the activator for the clear, they do say if that starts to yellow and discolor, that it's time to get rid of it, and that you don't want the clear activator to be discolored at all. And I assume it's just because that color will get entrained in the actual clear, and it'll show up and result in not as good of a job. So if you're curious about that or whatever, the activator for the epoxy primer, shelf life on this stuff is all about a year according to SPI, probably more like 2 or 3 if you keep it tight and the cans closed and all that kind of stuff, but it's okay for it to be caramel colored. All right, got the reduced coat on here. I got 2 hours now between this and putting the Raptor Liner down. If you remember way long time ago when I did the first Raptor Liner application underneath the car, this is how I did it. This is also how I'm going to go with the red. I'm gonna put the reduced coat down and then go right into base coat. When I paint the outside of the bonnet, I have a feeling that I'm having some adhesion problems because I'm waiting too long in between, even though my research tells me that that's okay. So anyway, again, about 2 hours now I'm gonna wait, so I'll figure out something to do for a little while, and then come back in and 2 coats of Raptor Liner, an hour between coats on that, and it's only got an hour pot life, so it gets a little tricky with the timing, but it should work out just fine. So in preparation for laying down the Raptor Liner, just gonna take this Harbor Freight purple gun apart, and full of rust. Oh, this is the needle, so full of rust. So who knows what's going on in there. For $9, it's definitely not worth cleaning. I didn't really want to use my good gun for the Raptor Liner, but so be it, I don't have a choice now. But I do have the disposable liners, the decup system, so that'll make it a little bit better. In actuality, I won't have to clean the cup, but I'll use the 2.2 millimeter tip on that. I got to double check the requirements for the Raptor Liner, but I'm pretty sure that the 1.8 to 2.2 is what it calls for, and I got the 2.2 that I used for the 2K primer, so I'll be going with the big gun. Getting ready to mix up the Raptor Liner here. I'm going to be mixing by weight, just like I did a while ago. I've got you've got the Raptor Liner itself, and this is the tintable stuff that I'm going to be using my base coat to tint with. You've got the hardener, which is here. Comes in a kit. I got a gallon kit when I bought it. This is my last tube, and then I've got my red that I'll be measuring out by weight also. I'm going to use the decup system for it because I showed you the travesty of the purple gun, and I ended up going with a 1.8 millimeter tip. The U-Pole instructions call for between a 1.6 and a 2 millimeter tip, and I figure the larger the tip, the rougher the texture, so I'd rather have a smoother texture, so I went into the 1.8 vice the 2.2. So again, this all mixes up by weight, following U-Pole's instructions. Going to make 500 grams, which I'm hoping is going to be about 500 milliliters, because a gram is a milliliter as far as I know, so that's going to give me hopefully about 16 ounces. And I probably am going to reduce it a little bit. You can reduce up to about 25%, or excuse me, up to about 15%. So I'll look and see what the consistency is and how much I've got and all that kind of stuff, and then figure out whether or not I'm going to reduce it. Obviously more than enough in here to do the bonnet, but we'll go ahead and play it by ear here. So first up is going to be the coating itself. I'm making, like I said, 1,000 grams or 500 grams. So I'm going to start with 388 grams of the Raptor Liner. All right, so I'll zero it out. Now I want 112 of the hardener. Now, one of the lessons I learned last time is I want to mix all this stuff up with the hardener before I add my color, just because I find it easier to mix in the long run. This the body of the Raptor Liner, the coating itself is really thick, and it takes a lot to stir it. All right, then finally we'll do 25 grams of color. All right, I'm using one of the little medicine cups here to grab the color out. Go ahead and stir that up. All right, that's it. So we're going to go ahead now and load it up into the gun. I'm not going to reduce it. And go ahead and shoot it. And we'll see how lucky I get. All right, I did go back and add reducer. Again, and another pitch to make sure you read the instructions every time, if not a couple times. For what I'm getting at, it does call for 15% reduced, so I added about 67 grams of just the urethane reducer that I've been using for everything else. And I think I've mixed up too much here. We'll see, but I'll start at the front and get it in there and then kind of work my way back. I'm going to wait on the wheel arches until towards the end because I might need to lean over that and stuff like that. And if I lean over, I don't want it to get, obviously, mess it up with my shirt and all that. But it sprays a little heavier pressure, about 29 pounds or so, so I'll go over to the test board over there, and then we'll get going. One nice thing about the Raptor Liner stuff is while the smell is still there, it doesn't kick up as much fumes and as much particulate in the air, so it's a little nicer to paint with, but, you know, so be it. So here we go. Hopefully I get lucky with the coverage. I will be doing 2 coats. Alright, well, it is what it is, I guess. Not incredibly happy with it. Also looks a little pink. I'm hoping that the next mix will take care of that. So about an hour here, I'll wait. I'll mix up whatever I've got left. And hopefully, because I got the added coverage from the first coat, I won't have to put it down quite so heavy on the second one. Well, the color looks a little bit better. Not quite as pink looking, which is good because that was going to really upset me. And I think it is what it is with the coverage. Again, hopefully with the second coat here, now that I've got some base down, it won't be as bad. But you know, it's not going to be perfect or anywhere near it. Unfortunately, I did forget to do the front of the bonnet, the pivot tubes here, so I'm upset about that because that's only going to make getting 1 coat now. But also that's covered by the bumper overriders. So I got a couple more minutes here to wait, an hour in between coats. I got about 2 or 3 minutes left. You can see that there's some spots that I just didn't get very well, so I'll have to pay a little bit more attention, but I think it's going to be okay. I think I would have been much more upset if I had tried to paint this in base coat, clear coat, and with the runs and everything else that invariably would have discouraged me. I think this was probably, if nothing else for my mental sanity, the better way to go. So when I'm all done here, I'll come back in and I'll show you. I am out of Raptor Liner. I've mixed everything up, so I'll fight with myself whether or not it's going to be worth it to go out and get another cork kit or something like that, just a single tub of it to be able to do the inside of the boot. The stuff's not that expensive, so I probably will go ahead and do that. I'm satisfied with it. It's not perfect. There's still going to be some gray areas, especially when the bonnet comes popping up. You're going to be able to identify all sorts of areas, I'm sure. But again, like I said, it's worth the heartache that I'm sure I would have suffered trying to get red on here. I did get the stuff over here, and I hit it with like a coat at the very beginning and the coat at the very end. I'm not too worried about that. Like I said, that is going to be covered up. But all in all, not too bad. Happy with the way that it came out. Nice. It's actually a bit of a smoother texture, I think, on this than it was anywhere else, based on probably the 1.8 millimeter tip, vice the 2.2. So, you know, it's okay. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. That close to 2,000 subscribers, so thanks everybody for that. Bonnet's turning red slowly but surely. Sometime here in a day or two, I'll let this stuff cure up. I'll flip the bonnet and then start to get the next and final phase of painting, which will be base coat, clear coat on the top itself. So thanks again. Have a good rest of your week and a good day. Cheers.